Now, is this a possible resurgence path for Giga Chikadze? He is in a talent-rich division, the featherweight division, of course. With wins like Cub Swanson, Edson Barboza. But unfortunately, when he ran into Calvin Kattar, he did get beat really bad. But he once recovered and beat AJ Caceres. Then lost a competitive decision to Arnold Allen, which, was tearing it up before he ran into Max. I believe he was on a 10-fight win streak when he fought Max. And now he's going to be fighting David Onama, which is a, I guess, up-and-coming prospect. I might have caught a fight or two of his. Nothing really stood out to me for the most part. That would give Giga issues. I saw his takedown rating. I believe it was somewhere in the 20 percentile of his completed takedowns. And he hasn't even faced a really top guy like Giga. So I don't really think he's going to be just, wrestling Giga to a win or smudging him against the fence for a decision to, suppress his kickboxing, which is Giga's strongest point, is those deadly, fast, lethal, powerful kicks. Whether it be body kicks, head kicks, just whatever. You don't want to be at kickboxing range at all with Giga Chikadze. So I believe he does win this one relatively easier. I don't go off his last two. AJ Caceres is really good, and he did pretty well against him. Enough for a win. Some people thought he lost. But losing to Arnold Allen, I don't really hold it against him. Arnold Allen's still very young himself and very lethal himself, I believe the only other people he's lost to Arnold Allen is Max Holloway and Mozar, which is someone else who's undefeated and probably fighting Volk for the title next. We're talking about a future champion, possibly. I don't think he beats Volk, but, those two losses, Arnold Allen's a very great fighter. So, losing to him, there's no shame in that. But we're going to see, if he loses to David Onama, maybe he isn't going to be cut to be a top 10 guy, maybe a top 15 gatekeeper or something. It just depends on how this fight goes. This will answer everyone's questions. I'm looking forward to this fight night card. It looks really stacked. I'm looking forward to all of them. Alaskarov is, making his return. He took a brutal KO loss to Robert Whittaker, which obviously one of the best middleweights to do it. No shame in that. And he took it on short notice. He didn't even have a camp for Whittaker. And just moving up from gradual competition to facing one of the best is just, a long shot to win. But love to see how he does against his matchup. I forget the name. I'm not sure. I think I've seen the guy he's facing fight before. I think he takes that as well. But he's not in the game, so can't do a showcase on him. But definitely looking forward to seeing him fight. I'm just really loving this fight night card. We're getting way better fight night cards because last year we were getting some shitty Apex cards. It's just insane. It was just heavyweights, main eventing a whole bunch of fight nights in Apex. It just wasn't good quality. But now, gotta say, a lot of these fight nights have been really, really good. And then after that, you got Randy Rude Boy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. That's gonna be a banger. Michelle Pereira versus Abus Magomedov, another banger. I might do a showcase on him as well, because why not? He's a crazy fighter that pretty much has, at least in the game, he has pretty much every kick, flying knee, just, he's crazy. He throws a lot at you, and, he was doing really good moving up to this weight class to move down to middleweight. So, seeing him going against Magomedov, it's another kicker, I believe so. And that's going to be pretty cool to see. And you bring out Anthony Smith fighting another up-and-comer. I think I caught one of his fights. But, yeah. Definitely when using Giga in UFC 5, you definitely want to take advantage of your kicks as much as you possibly can. There's going to be some fights where you do need to use more boxing. It's just how this game is. People can glue to you. People can suppress your kicks very easily in the game. So, look at that. Nice head kick counter right there. Because he whiffed that kick, so he immediately fire off that head kick. But yeah, I definitely hope for UFC 6 that footwork is actually better utilized. Was it perfect in UFC 4? I wouldn't say so. It wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better, to the point where I used to use Wonder Boy a whole bunch. Yeah, we do get rocked there. I was trying to throw a T. I think it turned into a knee. But, you know, I used to use him in UFC 4 so much because I was able to use footwork and really work. You know, it was one thing just staying at the distance and, you know, staying far away from your opponent. It's another to land your kicks, set them up, and pick apart your opponent from the outside. It's a lot harder to do that. You know, you got to be very precise. You can't use the same combos over and over because, you know, if they guess you're throwing a head kick and they duck it. Back in UFC 4, you used to get flash KO'd. Like, I'm not sure if you guys remember that, but, you know, if you missed a spinning body kick, those things were brutal. If you missed, like, a spinning body kick, your heart would drop and you would get flash KO'd more times than not, regardless of the power rating or anything. Right there, we land a nice block counter. He throws a lead hook on our lead hand. We fire off a lead hook as soon as it touches our block. But definitely want more brutal damage to UFC 6. You know, pretty sure we're getting close to it. Facing a wild Yair Rodriguez who got a nasty buff. You know, he has like 98 kick power with 100 kick speed. And you see, in his fighters like this, you would think, why don't people use guys like Yair and kickboxers like Giga? It's simply put, people will pick like an Ilya Taporia, a Diego Lopez, Max Holloway, and they'll just stick to you. They'll push you against the fence. Even if you are fighting back, you're still forced into this boxing battle. You know, if they're not giving up any ground, it's just the footwork's not good enough. You know, it's gotten way worse than UFC 4 did, so all we could do is hope for improvements, though. I still can have fun with the game for the most part. You know, there's probably like maybe 15% of the time where I'm not enjoying the game so much, but still love it. Time a nice head kick counter. You see, like right there, I just landed a head kick counter with a lethal kickboxer. He eats it with no stamina. Didn't even get rocked. But yeah, still taking our time because he is kind of wild. I thought I was going to be able to duck it, but I was just a little bit too late. Gonna duck that right there. Accidentally do it straight, but counter him very well. Land a nice switch kick. Those are some things used to be way more effective in UFC 4 too. Those things used to be so fast. We're able to duck that. See, like he's able to survive that. He hasn't survived this though, but that's gonna be a showcase for Giga Chikadze. Hopefully, you know, he does come out with a W, and stay tuned for more content.